It's not the end of life. It is actually the beginning of life. Maybe this will help us understand this better. There are three kinds of death that exist. Number one is physical death. Physical death is what we find in Hebrews 9:27, where the Bible says, and as it is appointed unto men once to die, and after that death is what? Is judgment. It's called physical death. What is physical death? It is the separation, look at me, church, look at me now. It's the separation of the human spirit and soul from the body. Man is a triune being. God is the Trinity, man is tripartite in nature. What that means is that you are the spirit that has a soul, and both spirit and soul dwell in a body. So what is physical death? It's the separation of your spirit and soul from your what? From your body. Oh, people cry. Oh, people are crying. People are weeping. But that is not the end of life. It is just a separation of the spirit and the soul from what? From the body. And it does not matter how the person dies, because death at best will have a face. Death at best must have a name. So the person was shot. It was a stray bullet that hit him, or it was gas explosion, or it was plane crash, or he just slept and never woke up, or it was food poisoning. Something must kill a man. But at the end of the day, it is the separation of the human spirit and soul from what? From the body. People will cry. Loved ones will cry. They would mourn. But it is a separation of the human spirit and soul from the body. The second type of form of death, ladies and gentlemen, is spiritual death. Spiritual death, look at me, is the separation of the spirit of man and the soul of man from God, his maker. People don't cry over that kind of death, but guess what, sir? It is the worst form of death. When somebody dies physically, people are aware. But are you aware that the number of people who are dead spiritually are far much more than people that died or have died physically? Anyone who's not born again is dead spiritually. Anyone who's not been bought by the blood, washed by the blood, and who does not have his or her name in the Lamb's book of life written, sir, is dead spiritually. That's what the Bible means in Isaiah 59, 1 and 2. It says, thus saith the Lord, my arms are not shortened, or my hand is not shortened that it cannot save. Neither is his ear or my ears heavy that I cannot hear. Verse 2 says, but your iniquities have separated between you and your God. Hey, look at me, sir. The worst form of death is not physical death. It is spiritual death. And as I speak, in every home there are dead people. Some parents are alive with God, but their children are spiritually dead. Some brothers are alive spiritually, but their siblings are spiritually dead. Am I talking to anybody here? Some sisters are alive spiritually, but their other siblings are dead. Some children are alive in the spirit, but their parents are dead. The worst form of death, sir, ma'am, is not physical death. It is spiritual death. The separation. Even Jesus tasted it when he hung on the cross with the sin of the world, past, present, and future, laid upon him. The spotless Son of God became the symbol of sin, that the sons of men can become the sons of God. He exchanged places. The Son of God became the Son of man, so that the sons of man can become the Son of God. On that cross, as Jesus hung, look at me, the Father turned his back on him. What does it mean to be dead spiritually? Is to come to a place where God has turned his back on you. And the worst thing that can happen to any man breathing is not to lose a job. It's not to lose a contract. It's not to lose large sums of money. It's not to have your car crashed. It's not to lose a loved one. The worst thing that can happen to any man is for Jehovah to turn his back on him. And at that point, Jesus could not call him Abba, Abba. He couldn't call him Patha, Patha, which means my father, my father. Jesus at that point felt estranged. And what did he say? He said, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. In other words, my God, at what point Did the Son of God become so estranged from his Father that he could not command that fellowship, that he could not call him Abba, Abba, but he called him Eloi, Eloi. It's the worst form of death. The church has a work to do. The church has a role to play. Because on your way to church this morning is somebody you passed on the road who is spiritually dead. Why am I teaching along these lines? Ladies and gentlemen, the time is near. And I will stand before God with my hands clean that I warned his church about his coming. Rapture can take place in two ways. Either the trumpet sounds and we're all caught up. Watch this. Or if Jesus delays to come, a man lives to his ripe old age, then he dies. Either which way, rapture has taken place for the person. And I'm here to sound a note of warning to the church. The first one is physical death. The second one is spiritual death. Who are you playing church for? You're one leg in, you're one leg out. You have become a Sunday church person. And even the Sunday you come, you don't come early. You have missed Sunday school. You have missed praise and worship. And then when you come halfway into the message being preached, you are looking at your time that you want to go. There are people in the hospitals. Look at me. They can't look at their time, their clock, their timepiece. You know why? There's nowhere to go. Health is bad. There are people in kidnappers den. They're not looking at their time. There are people in prisons. They are not looking at their time. They're not. Number two is spiritual death. It's important for you to know the state of your life, the state of your heart. My labor will not be in vain over you. I will teach you the truth in love. The separation of God from man and man from God, from his maker. Number three is eternal or the second death. The eternal death or the second death. That one is the one where Satan, hell, and Hades will be thrown into the everlasting lake of fire that continues to burn. That one is the eternal death. That's the third kind of death.